I called earlier. I'm Kerith Muir from Jamaica.
Yes,
And
Jay in the house.
I just want,
Go on.
yes. So I just wanted to ask something pertaining to what I asked earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that you said that white people, a lot white people on this planet get their genetics and DNA from the Pleiadians,
I actually said the
right?
Adamites,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
So wait, so you're saying that white people, they don't get their genetics from the Pleiadians?
There's no such thing as a white person.
Okay, what I mean is Caucasians. Since a lot of them
Yeah.
have, some of them still have blonde hair and blue eyes, they get their genetics from the Pleiadians.
Okay, I want you to ask the question fully and then I'll answer it. I would like you to finish your question.
Okay, because what I'm saying is that I'm getting confused because
Yes, that's right. When you ask
I know
questions, we
that
will clarify it. So, what are you confused about?
it's the Hebrew Israelites. They have this belief that white people or Caucasians are descendants of Jacob's twin brother Esau. So if they're descendants of Esau, Esau was probably born with a genetic mutation that causes white skin and blonde hair and such. So that's why I imagine, or that's where I imagine white people or Caucasians get their DNA from that mutation of Esau.
No,
And Esau passed on that mutation to his descendants.
no. This is called misinformation, and this is why the master teacher wrote books. We've got 360 questions to ask the Hebrew Israelites because it's not about what you claim; it's about what is factual and like what you can prove. The whole Jacob and Esau being two different nations is a concocted story, and it's just that one was hairy, but this is dealing with the the descendancy goes back to the Canaanites, and Canaan or Canaan, not Cain from Cain and Abel, right? I'm talking about Noah's son Ham, and then his son Canaan, and this is where they got what you're calling a a curse, but it wasn't originally a curse because he came out an albino or someone that lacked melanin. And so what he had to do, because the sun was very harmful to him, right? When you don't have melanin to protect your skin or your eyes, you can't really deal with the sun, and the sun will damage you and give you skin cancer. So what he had to do was move into the mountains because it was cooler in the mountains. And this is where, his name Laban, or which means milky or white, yeah. But that is what you're getting where it became leprosy. But remember, I mentioned before when you called that Hitler, the beings known as the Flugerods, which were grafted by way of the being known as Jacob, right? They were already in existence because that was done 8,400 years prior to the 6,000 years of the Adamites and before what we're talking about here when we're talking about Canaan. So this is where the leprosy comes in from. And then the Flugerods and the Canaanites mixed, and then they came down and started like by way of what they refer to as the Vikings. They came down from the Caucasus Mountains and they started to mix. But Canaan was also, he had children, and they're known as the 11 sons of Canaan. This is where you get what you're calling the Khazars or the Russians and the Sephardim, and they're dealing with being known as the Jebusites because Jebus was one of those sons. So you have the Archites, which deals with the beings in like Australia, the Amorites, which deals with those beings that were in America, then, and so on and so forth. So what it is that there's this story that is told, like, even with the three sons, Ham, Japheth, and is that the one?
Cush, Ham, Japheth. Shem.
Shem,
Shem,
thank you.
yeah.
Right? They say that this is where the three nations came from. But you can't have one woman who's the same race as a man that give birth and have three different races come out of them. That's not possible by way of DNA. So a lot of what they teach is actually misinformation or misinterpreted information. But I'm going to read you, let me read you something just to clarify, because even though, when I said there are no people called whites, just like there are no people called blacks, it's a thing that was created that causes racism. But this scroll called the 33 Commandments of the Sabians or Sabians, it's by Parnabab. I'm just going to read a little piece. It says, on the Adamites, I, in fact, let me read before that. It says, I, as a deity in flesh, incarnate from time to time as the reformer to renew our story every 24,000 years. I come from planet Marzuk or Marzak, Risk, in Malan, Ilion. You, Munwapu of the Musbatu, are to thank the Pa Muntaru for their protections and for their Pa Taruk, be Pa Tarak. That's these scrolls we're referring to as a guidance on how to live. I tell you this out of Ashuk, divine love, of beloved jewels of my eyes. You now have the Sawab, truth, and it will free your mind, body and soul if you accept it. Love each other, each one teach one. Pa Munsar, the warner. Live for, of, and by each other. Truth is truth. This is the bit I want you to pay attention to. On the Adamites, I, Pa Munbab, Yanun, do not want you to think that the use of Adamite means all and every so-called white person. So-called. It does not mean that. There were many Murapu, Europeans, on planet Earth long before the making, grafting, breeding of the hybrid seed of the Muadamu, Adamites. The first man, Adam, was born 6th month Tammuz, 6th day of that month, the year 3761 BC, 6,000 years from 2000 AD. No one wins the race in racism. So yeah, this is what we're basically saying, that there were other beings that were here that are not referred to as whites. And this is what I refer to as the Adamites, which were basically grafted by way of these Pleiadian beings that we mentioned before. And they were only given 6,000 years to rule and have dominion over the planet. And that ended in the year 2000. And this is why now, due to the genetic markers, they're being wiped off the planet. Does that help?
Yes, that helps. And there's something else I'm wondering. This is a question that comes to mind when you said that human beings are related to are mixed with extraterrestrial races.
Right.
Now, in the Bible, when it says that these beings called the sons of God had children with human women, and the children of those unions were the Nephilim. So the Nephilim is basically
No,
like
it was the
alien,
Nephilims that had the children. That's Genesis 6:4 you're referring to. So the Nephilims, which the word Nephilims means to fall down from the word Naphala, because they came down here, as you said, and mixed and produced offspring.
Okay, so basically what the Nephilim are these supernatural, half human beings, or half extraterrestrial, half human beings, correct?
No, that's their offspring. So the Nephilims themselves would be these, like when we talk about these Anunnaki and these beings that came from up down, and then they kind of like raped and produced offsprings, which will then be hybrid, because it tells you that they went in onto the daughters of men, and they produced these offspring that were weak and wicked, and they didn't like what their nature was like. So they became hybrids because they were now part what you would call extraterrestrial and part what you would call human.
And there are goodly people on the planet today that still have Nephilim genes.
Yeah,
coming down the
all the
line.
people on the planet. To see, you have to explain and break down what an extraterrestrial is. Extra means extra as in addition, and when you're saying celestial, you're saying from outside of the terrain or of this terrain known as the terrestrial plane. So when you're saying that, you're saying anything that comes from outside in is an extraterrestrial. So we are all extraterrestrials, but we're just related to different extraterrestrial ancestors. So, okay, let me make it simple. In the Bible, it tells you that God breathed into man and man became a living soul, right?
Yes.
So, the part of you that God breathed from himself into you would be an extraterrestrial because it's not from here if God is not from here. You follow?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
everyone that has that breath of life or that part from God who is in heaven as an extraterrestrial is part extraterrestrial. That's not even dealing with the science of panspermia, where we're dealing with meteorites and things coming from outside, bacteria coming from outside the planet to germinate this planet and then create life forms. You follow?
Yes.
Tua, does that answer your questions?
Yes.
You
So,
sure?
and it doesn't matter, even if like different races of humans get their genetics from different extraterrestrials, it doesn't matter how different we are genetically, whether we are a black person
It
or a
does
white
matter.
person,
It
it
does
doesn't matter.
matter.
We should all love each other and get along.
Yeah, we should love each other and get along, but as he said, he created you into tribes so that you may know of each other, but not to mix, because the mixture, depending on who's gaining advantage, is going to be advantageous to one person who's the one that is losing, and then it's going to be that would be a disadvantage. So, for example, if I, as a Nagaru, Negroid, if, and again, this is not even dealing with racism or saying that people can't make decisions of who to be with or who to love. That's down to them, but they have to deal with the facts of what happens in that mixture in terms of DNA, meaning that I will be weakening my genes if I was going down, mixing down from my genetics. So, for example, you look at Michael Jackson of the Jackson 5, when he first came on the scene, he had strong Nagaru genetics. Afro hair, big nose, big lips, dark skin. And then he basically went the other way by having straight 6 ether hair, light skin, small lips, and his nose was changing from day to day. So it's like you looked at him and compare his picture at the end to the picture you saw him at the beginning, he was completely transformed and looking more like a Caucasian woman from being a Nagaru man. I'm just using that as an example to say that you can get white from black, but you can't really get black from white because you're watering down your genetics. But in terms of who you choose to love, who you choose to be with, and and in this day and time, there's so much mixture that we're not just looking at a person's skin color and then being judgmental or being like racist, because we say no one wins the race in racism. So, but we still have to teach the facts about DNA and genetics and the sciences of what that really means. And for some people, they don't want to accept truth, but truth is truth. Facts are facts.
Yeah. So, okay. So you said that we shouldn't mix, but the thing is that most of us are mixed, right?
Yeah, but there's different types of mixtures. I'm saying,
Okay.
I'm saying we're all mixed in the sense that from the original DNA and the potency that we originally had, even as Nagaru, we've kind of fallen down because we don't actually live our culture. We don't eat the foods we're supposed to eat. We're not in the environment we're supposed to be in. So just by way of that, we have actually dropped down in terms of our divinity.
Don't speak our tones, our
Yeah, we
language.
don't speak our own language. We've forgotten who and what we are. And by the time you get to the number 9, which we say 9 ether, it's still a drop down from 9 to the 9th power of 9 to just 9. And this is where we're supposed to be elevating back to being those supreme 9 ether beings, and then making our way back into becoming a part of the all expanding as a pure Ethereal energy being. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, we have to move on because we have other calls and loads of questions in the chat. All right.
All right.
Appreciate of your call. Take care. Wadu.
Asking if you join Telegram group.
Are you in our Telegram group? Oh, he's gone.
Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah, you can continue there. We got another caller. Let me take this.